Hello, everyone. My name is Marvin Fuentes. Welcome back to today's podcast. And today I am joined by Troy Johnson. Troy, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Troy Johnson. I own, or should say co-own Local Guy Pest Control out of Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah. And what got you started in the pest control industry?
So usually I answer that with, where do you want me to start? Out of high school, I went to school to be a dog trainer for police and military dogs. We wanted to be closer to family up in the state of Iowa. So I just took a job, and that job happened to be with a pest control company as a bedbug dog handler. From there, got a couple promotions into leadership and eventually started our own company.
Nice. And you started this in
22.
22. Okay. And how was that first year like for you?
We kind of knew what we were walking into. So it was nights, weekends. Every customer appointment was between 4 and 6 or 6 to 8. A lot of Saturdays, a lot of Sundays, things like that. So it was a grind, but I was able to maintain the full-time job while doing this on the side.
Got it. Okay. And that transition, what made you guys make that transition? Was there maybe a contract that had you guys just push it, or what was it?
Is a little bit of both. So what happened, and the honest truth is, it just all came to a head. I was doing way too much on the pest control side. I was doing way too much on the corporate job that I had. So finally push came to shove, and we had to take that leap of faith, and luckily we landed on our feet. It was an exciting moment. I come home and I tell the wife, hey, I left my job and a little ahead of schedule, and hey, we're probably gonna have to sell the house and the cars and maybe the kids and figure this out. But no, man, the phone kept ringing, so it was a blessing.
That's great. And what do you think kept the phone ringing?
Biggest thing for us is reputation, right? Like, last thing I ever want to do is have a 1, 2, 3, 4-star review. It's fives or nothing. So really taking what I learned in the corporate environment and applying it to now, like, hey, I'm not going to leave your house without a 5-star review. And if you're not willing to give me a 5-star review, then there's more to do. So just being real grindy, doing those extra things for customers.
Nice. And how do you go about getting those 5-star reviews? Do you ask afterwards, like in an email, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so the easiest way is if it's something you can resolve, like right there, like termites, drain flies, even if it's like a cockroach clean out, right? All those things where there's an immediate impact. For example, this morning we were out doing a hornet's nest, right? The hornet's nest is gone. So there's an immediate satisfaction there. Whereas if you're doing the ants, crickets, spiders, we do text message follow-up, we do email follow-up, but I'm trying to get that review while I'm sitting right in front of you, because that's the best time, right? So I have the little card I can tap your phone with, but a lot of people will just pull it up. And usually they'll ask, right? They'll say, well, do you want it on Facebook or do you want it on Google? Well, I want both. So depending on how much time we got,
Yeah. And what is probably the biggest challenge you're facing currently?
It's scaling. Oh, we're hitting some really good revenue months, but we go from having a ton of cash in the bank to no cash in the bank. And so trying to build the company without taking on a bunch of debt has, I don't want to say been our Achilles heel, but it's caused us to grow a little slower, right? But we have a plan. We like to sit down once a year and kind of put our hopes and dreams on paper. And then what we find is usually this time of year in October, we've already hit those goals. So we don't necessarily need the rest of the year.
Got it. And how predictable is your month-to-month revenue at the moment?
We can predict a lot of it. And then I always say, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and then the rest is gravy. Right now, there's a lot of gravy, and that's caused a lot of headaches. Where we do bats and insulation as well. So along with pest control and termite, we're doing those things as well. So those can really add juice into the P&L on the revenue side. So I would say it's pretty predictable. We know what we need to make, and consistently we've gone over that month over month.
Okay. And at the moment, what does your day-to-day look like?
Wake up and panic. So we're on the road by 7:30, 8 o'clock, depending on what we're doing. I'm usually in the field, right? So our first guy just got out of training. So it was me and him in a truck there for about a month. He's now out on his own. So I'm making sure, what does he need? Am I prepared to do my schedule? Because I've been so worried about his schedule that now I'm forgetting my stuff, right? So usually I'm doubling back to the office to grab something that I missed, right? Like forgot my bee suit the other day. I had to run back, grab that. But as far as the daily routine, it's go out, serve customers, come home, figure it all out. Where I'm doing the quotes at night, I'm doing all the billing at night. Any administrative tasks that my wife Sarah hasn't done, I'll follow up with that at night and make sure everyone's good to go before we go to bed.
Is there a specific like task or process that feels like unpredictable in the business currently?
Just with me being out in the field so much, I don't have my finger on the pulse, like when we go to pay bills and things like that. So sometimes I'll think, oh, we got plenty of money in the bank. And then all of a sudden, $3,000 comes out to pay all these vendors or bills, right? So that's probably been the unpredictable side of it. And it's just because my mind is somewhere else. It's not on working on the business. I'm currently working in the business. So getting back to that.
Got it. Okay. And what do you think it's going to take for you to switch to that role?
Yeah, so we've taken that step, right? Bringing on somebody, having a good plan for next year. So sitting down in October, coming up with what does good look like for next year for 2026, and making sure that's all written down, right? So we want to add 2 more trucks, we want to add 2 more guys or gals. We want to narrow our service offering, so we're not doing all this wild and crazy stuff. We're doing what brings us profit, right? Or what brings us revenue.
Yeah. What does bring you the most profit?
Right now it's bats and termites. Wasp, those ground hornets that are going on all over right now, those are probably third. And then fourth and fifth, you go commercial pest control, residential pest control.
Okay. How do you go about acquiring leads? How do you get people through the door? Not through the door, but
I get you. Yeah, yeah. The phone to ring. So that's what's crazy is Sarah left her job in May. Since April, maybe early May, we haven't paid for Facebook. We haven't paid for Yelp. We haven't paid for Google. We had a really good company put together our website. The SEO took off in the first, second quarter. So that's been huge for us. It's just the SEO, but managing the Google My Business page, posting daily. We post periodically on Facebook, but then just referrals. So there's reviews and referrals, right? When I'm at a customer's house, I'm saying, hey, who else has spiders that you know of? And they'll say, oh, my dad has spiders and I've been trying to get him to get rid of them, right? So cool. What's dad's number? I'll call him. Those have been kind of the key takeaways, but the phone keeps ringing. And it's been a huge blessing for us.
are there any bottlenecks in your business at the moment?
We're currently, I think it was in Good to Great, the Jim Collins book. We operate off the Genius model right now, where I know more than I should, and getting that information out to Nathan, our first employee, and Sarah, my wife, and getting them the same knowledge I have, right? Whereas, hey, we both know if you go to a cockroach start, it might take an hour, it might take 2 hours, depending on the level of infestation. So knowing what questions to ask that kind of set you up for success when you get there. Yeah, for example, we figured out this year, if we're doing ground hornets and I got to dig out that nest, it's probably a 2-hour investment. Where that first week, Sarah had me doing 4 in the morning and they were 30 minutes, right? So that third and fourth customer, I was having to put off sometime to a different day just because we got so far behind.
Yeah.
That's kind of the learning curve for us.
Okay. Yeah, just making little tweaks and whatnot.
It's really coming home, screaming at each other and saying, hey, you can't, like, I can't do that. And then working through it.
Yeah. You guys have a good dynamic going?
Yeah.
That's good.
Sarah's really good at the admin, putting a process right. If we have an issue twice, it gets written down, like the process to follow to solve that. She's really good at putting that down on paper.
Is there a similar complaint that you get whenever you get complaints? Does it come down to one service that you give usually, or do you not get complaints really?
I'd love to say we don't get complaints, and that's probably how we look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 9 out of 10 the issues that come up are going to be around communication, right? Every once in a while, we'll have a customer that slips through and thinks we're going to be there at an exact time instead of a 2-hour window. So that comes up. We get a lot of it's been 24 hours and I still have spiders. You guys suck. What are you going to do about it? So then it's just, hey, it's a process. The product takes time. If we need to come back out and touch up after 7-10 days, we can do that. But if we come out too soon, it's not gonna do you any good, right? So I'd say we more get like miscommunication, failure to set expectations, things like that, versus hey, we did something wrong or we did something detrimental to the customer.
Got it. I see. If you had a magic wand to fix one problem in the business, what would that be?
If we could fix one problem with a magic wand and just make it go away forever, I'd say cash flow is probably the wrong word, but being able to have the right equipment all the time, right? So my biggest issue is one day I'll do bats, the next day I'll do termites, the next day I'll run a route, the next day I'll do a wasp job. The next day, I'll go do a bunch of bird inspections. So I always have to constantly flip over my truck. And so
Mm,
what that inevitably leads to is like, I've shown up to several inspections where I forgot my flashlight, the most basic of tools we use. So probably more consistency in having the right stuff at the right time. Like if my truck could magically get prepped for me, that would be a huge game changer for me. As far as the business goes, getting the business out of our house and into a shop is probably the next big step for us as far as what we can physically try to do ourselves.
got it. What is probably your goal in 90 days, and how would you go about it?
So 90 days, we got a lot going on in the next 90 days. So we've done a really good job with some of these wildlife projects we've done where we do installation cleanouts and then we blow into installation. So we're kind of stacked through I guess what you would call the off season or the end of the bell curve, but we want to plan for next year. So that's always huge for me. That's one of my kind of corporate America takeaways is you can't do a good job if you don't have a good plan. So having a good plan in place, that'll be huge for us. Making sure we know how much money are we going to need for next year. If I have to buy 2 trucks, we got sticker shocked by our commercial auto insurance this year and some general liability stuff of holy cow, right? I'm sure you've dealt with that. So making sure we have a good plan going into 2026 and then executing on the customers we have on the calendar.
Okay. So you guys are currently operating out of your house.
Yeah. Yeah,
What have been
we
the challenges
are,
with that?
when we have a 2-car driveway and it's at like a 45-degree angle. So you can't really park on the grass. We're in an HOA. No one's complained, but the morning car shuffle, the evening car shuffle, it's always a challenge, right? When me and the wife get into a fight, it's usually over parking, right? She's blocked me in, but she expects me to be at this customer at 7 a.m. And it's like, well, you gotta get your car out the door too. That's probably the biggest thing is just having a little more space.
Got it. Okay. What is your upcoming strategy for this year, for 2026?
I would say measured growth, right? So we know like, hey, we haven't had to pay for ads. We haven't had to really push the marketing side. Our reputation has done a lot of the heavy lifting. We're part of the chamber. We're part of some of these networking groups, and that's been huge. But I think having a budget for Google, for Facebook, for Yelp, and making sure we're putting money in the right place, and then being able to pull that lever one way or the other. We're scheduled to have radio ads next year, so that'll be exciting for us. But with that, right? Hey, if all of a sudden we get 100 calls, but we only have 2 technicians, and what I've told Sarah is like, hey, you need to be ready to run out, right? Like she sometimes thinks she's just the office gal or just the networking person, but she's licensed. She's got a vehicle that can go out and run route. So making sure, hey, we need to hire in March. It's going to be painful, right? We need to purchase another truck before we need it. So things like that, making sure those milestones are on the calendar in the right place. And that'll set us up for a good year.
Looking ahead of that good year, what's the outcome that would make you feel like it was a good year?
0 employee turnover would be huge. So if we hire the right people out of the gate, that's big. I say this with some caution, but $1 million is within reach for next year without having to knock doors, which is I know a way to really accelerate growth and something we've done in the past. Yeah, but I would say this year is $1 million or bust.
Or I had a follow-up question that I thought of and I completely slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Trying to think do you guys do any commercial
We do a
produce?
lot of
Yeah.
commercial.
Around what percentage is commercial?
It's probably 40% right now,
Okay.
commercial.
Do you prefer commercial over like houses?
Yes and no. Commercial's great as far as like cancellations and revenue go, but when you're trying to go to your kid's soccer game and they have a bed bug emergency, you gotta make a decision.
Yeah. How have you gotten your commercial clients usually?
I'm kind of old school in that way where I'm just going to walk in, hand them a business card, say hello. If it's someone I really want to do business with, I'll take them a box of donuts or I'll stop by several times throughout the week. But just being a person coming in saying, hey, how you doing? Do you like your guy? Sometimes they love their guy, right? Their guy goes to church with them or they're their soccer coach and okay, cool. It's hard to compete with that. But more often than not, what we find is there was some big pest control company and if that technician loses that account, they're not going to miss their mortgage payment. Whereas if I lose an account, there's still that risk of a Bank of America is going to come ask for the house back, right? So my level of concern, my level of involvement might be a little higher than theirs.
Got it. I see. What other marketing efforts do you plan on trying this upcoming year, or maybe in the
Uh,
upcoming months?
yeah. Yard signs have been big for us. We've been putting those out as we do like projects at customers. Same thing with the 5-star reviews. If there's an immediate change at that customer's house, I'm asking for their review. I'm asking to leave a yard sign, especially if they're on like a corner lot, right? But we'll probably join a BNI group, one of those networking groups where you have to pay to be a part of it, and there's some accountability pieces in there. I've never really liked networking and doing that kind of stuff, but those have paid huge dividends. So doubling down on that is going to be big for us. But like I said, actually setting a Google budget, and monitoring that, making sure it's paying us dividends, that's going to be huge.
Got it. Okay. How do you think that's going to go?
Pretty well. So I've done Google ads before and had some pretty good success. I think it depends on what you're competing on. So I've had good luck by staying like I'm going to talk about termites, I'm going to talk about bed bugs, I'm going to talk about wildlife, and then I'm going to get the pest control as part of that, and get that reoccurring revenue that way. Whereas if I go toe to toe with some of the big names on pest control, we might end up spending more than we want to per
Mhm.
customer or per
Mhm.
conversion rate. Whereas if I go after some of those more fringe services, we seem to have better success.
Got it. I see. There anything, any marketing tactic or method that generated unexpected results for you?
Google LSA used to be the cheat code in our market. Now everyone's doing it, so it's not as much of a cheat code anymore. But I think knowing your audience, right? So we got an opportunity to do some pretty big names in our community, and that by like really focusing in and making sure their problems are resolved and making sure they know like, hey, we want to grow. Just the referrals that have come off that, just from them subtly mentioning our service.
I see. Okay. How important do you think networking is in your industry? I know you say your wife does it more, right?
Yeah, I go to it. I'm definitely more of an introvert, so it drains my battery versus charges me
Mhm.
up. She likes it way more. But I would say like I picked up golf back in March just so I could do more networking.
Okay.
I found that if I can make a good connection and build a friendship and a relationship with somebody at one of these events, that doesn't just turn into one account, it turns into 10. And
Mhm.
then, those a third of those people are going to need pest control or bat work or something else.
Got it. So have you gotten a good amount of clients through just doing it yourself?
As far as the like networking or the other pieces of marketing.
The networker.
Yeah, it's been unreal. Like I said, when back in May when Sarah left her job, we sat down and the first couple of days she thought she was just going to take phone calls, respond to emails, and I was like, "Hey, there's a difference between a profit center and a cost center, and we can't afford for you to be a cost center, right? You have to go out and generate profit for the business or revenue for the business." So she started joining all these networking things and maybe bit off a little more than she can chew, but she's been keeping her head above water. But we went from I maybe had 3/4 of a route to now we have 1.5 routes without doing some of these other aggressive strategies. So yeah, we put the right person in the right seat and she's executed. And it's done wonders for the business. I mean, we went from 200 customers to, I don't know if I can see it from the screen I'm on here. We're well over 700 now, as far as reoccurring customers go. So just that jump in that short amount of time, like if you can do networking right, it's huge.
Nice. That's good. Troy, one last question for you. I don't want to waste too much of your time. If you were to start over, what are 3 things you would change?
I would find a good chamber of commerce right away to join. Not all are created equal, right? I've been in some that weren't worth it. Setting up your Google My Business and having a good website, I think have been huge for us. And then while I think AI serves a huge role in our business as far as helping us generate verbiage, put pictures of yourself on your websites and your social media. That's been something like I don't like being in front of a camera. I don't like my face being out there. But even with this face that's made for radio, we've had some pretty tremendous success by just being human, right? So I'd say, man, as uncomfortable it is, like get as comfortable as you can with it.
Troy, thank you so much for jumping on this call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Marvin.
Absolutely.